Well, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to say hello and welcome to a fresh, brand new edition of the program ASHFORD GARLEY Live on British Radio Africa. It feels great to be back home as always. And please allow me to borrow the wordings of the wise man. But before then, Father God, want to give you praise, want to magnify your name. You woke us up this morning, and with that, we want to say thank you. Tough times don't last, tough people do. The height of a man is never known until he rises because there's no second chance to make that first impression. Basi Yomplu. C'est qu'on a épelia. Bediaku egwe play. Borubla ekpade koye. The mastermind, the doctor of love, Africa's media doobie-doo extraordinaire. He doesn't eat iron, but he's definitely stronger than a lion. As for the giant, and now you know me, Garley. Welcome to the show. Our very special and powerful guest tonight, straight out of Liberia, the Godfather himself, the Chief, Cyril Allen, is our special guest tonight, folks. Share the video, invite a few friends, so that we can together have a blast. Idatu Sadid, hello, welcome to the show, bro.
Thank you. Greetings to everyone. Welcome to our highly esteemed guest, Chief Cyril Allen. Greetings to Madam Letty Brooks, Coach Kwiwe. It's a pleasure having all of you here tonight. Thank you.
Coach Q, welcome to the show.
Thank you, man. Looking forward to the conversation. It's always good to be in you guys' company. So just looking forward to have a conversation about our country.
Mrs. Letty Brooks Roberts, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Good evening. Welcome to all of you. Hope you have a great evening as we welcome our guests and our audience.
Okay, at this time, we'd like to introduce to you the Honorable Chairman Emeritus of the NPP. NPP stands for the National Patriotic Party. And he's a friend and big brother, a political scientist, the fearless, the tough talking. Honorable Allen, welcome to the show.
Evening and good evening to all of you. I see you got a lot more people than I thought. I thought it was a one-on-one, but good evening to all, and we are all ears now. Let me hear what the invitation is all about.
First off, I will give you the first minute or two to tell us a little bit about yourself. And then we can go from there. The floor is all yours, sir.
Where do I start from? Well, let me go about 35 years back. I'm a graduate of Cottington University College, and from there I went to the Swiss Graduate School of Insurance. I came back and then continued my sojourn with the Insurance Company of Africa because I have a higher degree in insurance. So I practiced for about 15 years and not more to say after that. I mean, the war came in and we served during the war. We established hydrocarbons in Buchanan, Greater Liberia, providing petroleum products for the logging companies and Firestone and Black and all that during the period of the civil crisis. After that, we came to the elections. I'm just skipping because they came to the elections and came with the NPP as national chairman and chairman for campaign for former President Taylor, and won the elections and went for another 5 years, and we had another period of war, and I think all of you know the history of that. So about myself, what I do, Well, now I'm retired, so I can take it from just of recent. So you know, I've been retired for about 7 years. I just serve on board of directors of some banks, and then the National Insurance, the NASCOP, National Social Security and Welfare. A member of the National Patriotic Party, Chairman Emeritus of the party, a member of the Governing Council of the ruling Coalition for Democratic Change, and a very active a farmer. I'm into farming. My preoccupation now is with my family farm, where we have 7,000 oil palm and produce about 150 drums of oil per annum. And then we plant rice also. We have a rice processing mill and a farina mill. We plant acres of cassava, and then we buy cassava from all the farmers around so that we make sufficient farina for the market, for our market. And so basically that's what we do. I'm into farming and deep into politics also, but politics is my passion and farming is my hobby. So these are the two things I can dwell on and talk about for now. Basically that's all I can say about myself, except people want to know specifics, and then I can go into details. But generally, right now I'm retired. I serve on the board of NASCOP, Social Security and Welfare Corporation, because of my orientation in insurance at graduate level. I'm more comfortable there to give advices and suggestions and make the corporation better.
Well,
also, I serve on the board of some banks, City Trust Bank, as chairman of the Committee on Audit and Finance for the bank. So basically, and then my farm is my preoccupation. So anything else you want to know, please ask me.
Well, Chief Allen, speaking of politics being your passion, as the political season heats up, you have been too quiet for the sharpshooter we know you to be. What's going on?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I'm following the process, the democratic process very closely. I'm in touch with the governing council of the coalition. We are in touch with the National Election Commission. We're engaging other political parties. There are a lot of political meetings that are going on. I don't have to talk about them because these are very important meetings. That would, and those responsible for disseminating information about the activities are the ones to do that. I am an advisor on the governing council and advisor on my party board as chairman of the board of advisors. So I direct the affairs of the party. Yes, there have been some discrepancies. Yes, there have been some new things happening. As you know, we have signed a new framework agreement under the coalition, and we have additional 9 political parties that joined the coalition recently. We inducted them into the governing council last week. They are members now of the governing council, and together we're planning strategies and strategizing for the electoral process. We are following the development in the various and varying political parties. We engage some of the other party leaders and speak to them on occasion. From time to time, we are not enemies. We are competing, and I don't have anything to go blabbing about any individual or misinforming the public about them. I'm not an electronic politician. I am a real politician. I'm a political scientist, and I'm interested in the well-being of the political sector, especially free, fair, and democratic election and the process leading to that. I'm very concerned about that because that's the only way harmony will prevail in the country. So I have not been silent. I've been having 1 or 2 interviews I had an interview with the VOA the other day and other international bodies. But I speak to all media. When you called me today, I said very clearly, yes, I'll be privileged to speak to Liberians about Liberia on any front. Because one thing Liberians will know is that I'm 71 years old and I'm too old to tell a lie, and I'm not afraid to die. And so these are the 2 things about me that I'm too old to misrepresent anything or to mislead people or to become negative and insulting and whatnot to other competitors in the political process. I think we should all embrace each other and work together to make sure that we compete fairly. and that we compete openly and not denigrating others and misinforming the public about other people because of sentimental reasons. Let's be political.
Well, folks, if you're just joining us, our special guest tonight is the Chief Cyril Allen, Chairman Emeritus of the NPP. Now, talking about the NPP, Chief Allen, uh, it is it true that the standard bearer tenure is over? If so, why is she still serving?
Well, the standard bearer is entitled to two terms. She has served 2 terms, but she's still the political leader of the party, by virtue of the fact that the party is in a coalition, and she is the vice standard bearer of the coalition and renominated. We did not think it was expedient to go to a convention and elect or go around the country campaigning for another standard bearer. She will bear the standard of the party, but she's not referred to as standard bearer. She's referred to as political leader now. She leads the executive committee of the party and speak for and on behalf of the party, along with the national chairman and the secretary general. Basically, that's the function of a political party. And politics is dynamic. You have to work in conformity with the challenges of changing times. Yes, we do not present her as standard bearer to the National Election Commission because they know that her term has expired. As 2 terms serving. But nothing prevents her from being the political leader of the party and assuming that responsibility.
Well, Chairman James Banning is the chairman of the NPP. Is that a fair and true representation of the reality at the NPP?
James Banning is a duly elected national chairman of the party. And until the party have an acceptable convention, he remains the national chairman. But the fact of the matter is that the party, you have to move with the party organization, the institution of the party. The National Executive Committee is the highest decision-making body of the party outside of a convention. And the decision of the National Executive Committee, of which I endorsed and supported as the chairman of the advisory board, along with the members of the advisory board, is that the party had agreed, the National Executive Committee assigned a majority vote from a convention that gave them the mandate to do so, to join and remain part of the coalition, and to redraft the framework agreement to accommodate the National Patriotic Party and other constituent parties in the new coalition much better than was done in the last 5 years. So the framework agreement has been redrafted where there's appropriate representation in government, hoping that the coalition wins in government for all political parties and additional parties that will join us even if there's a second round. So we have broadened the scope of nominations and appointments in a duly elected government to incorporate other political parties. That was a sticking point. Another sticking point was the fact that in the counties and whatnot, a broad section of the other parties were not active in their activities and whatnot because of the prevailing situation. But that has been addressed, and all the parties have established their party headquarters in the various counties. And at the constituency level, you have constituency coordinators of all the parties represented at the various constituencies. Hence, there's a constituency election. So basically, all these things, their structure have been put in place. That's what we do in the background to ensure that the political administrative superstructure of the party is spread throughout the country. And that should be the preoccupation of most political parties now, to be able to identify people at the constituency level, because your strength comes from the constituency where you have representation at the national legislature. That is some of the problems that some of the opposition parties are having. In the last election, they did not focus on winning legislative seats to be represented at the national legislature, to have people to speak on their behalf. They were focusing on presidency and vice presidency, and they lost most of the legislative seats, and they lost the presidency, and also they lost actually 75 seats. That's 73 legislative seats and 1 vice president and presidential for the presidential and general election. If you lose all that, that means you lost 75 votes, and count the number of political parties that were participating and see the number of votes that they lost in the electoral process. These are just some of the dynamics of politics that people should know about to understand what is happening at home. Most people don't, and so it is good for us to enlighten people of the structure, the type of structure that you have to put in place to win a democratic election in Liberia. It's not about fighting and beating drums and insulting and throwing rocks. It's about galvanizing your strength at the constituency level because votes have no quality. Forget about a few doctors and master degree holders like us and educated people who are on the internet talking about democratic ratios. The vote has no quality. And you have 50 PhDs and somebody have 50 members of a traditional society in one district, they'll outvote you, no matter how many PhDs or doctors or educated people you have. So you have to look at that too, and look at the political geography. Even in nominating your standard bearer and vice standard bearer and your legislative candidates, you must go to the constituencies and make sure that the people at the constituency present candidates to you for you to support as a party. If you start handpicking people in Monrovia and taking them to Sino or Maryland and expect them to win seats in there, I think you're making a political error because those people are not familiar with the terrain and the people in there are not familiar with them. So if you have a school teacher, a dispenser, market woman or somebody from a district that the people support, you go there and beef that person up and make sure that the governor has more numbers for you because democracy is the law of numbers. It doesn't matter, how many civilized or whatever people you have voting. It depends on the numbers. So that is my advice on that line. I talk politics because that's my passion. But if you raise another issue, maybe I might be able to speak about it more. But that is what is happening according to the question that you have asked.
Okay. Well, folks,
want to know anything else?
I know. Again, folks, please share the video and invite a few friends so that we can together have a good time tonight. Grab your popcorn, get something to drink, because we are in the presence of a veteran politician, a political scientist. So, I mean, you can clearly see that he's ready for us tonight. Having said that, ASHFORD GARLEY Live on British Radio Africa has a team of panelists. And I will whip myself around the room tonight, starting up with Idatus added. Then I will go to Coach Q, Dr. Fisk, Mrs. Letty Brooks Roberts. Idatus added 2 questions, please.
You got too many people in there. All right, let's go on.
All right. Chief Ali, I want to especially say thank you for accepting our calls to be a part of this highly prestigious program. It is such a privilege to interview you. As an iconic figure that has been in the nuts and bolts of Liberian politics, administration of the country, business, among several other things, I'd like you to please kindly speak to the issue of the Liberian PL 480 program and as it relates to Joseph Yuma Boyka for education.
Well, let's go back. Now we're going back, and I think it's good for Liberians to understand some of the historical background of things. During that period, I remember you mentioned former Vice President Joseph Boyka. Boyka, yes, was at LPMC, and I remember early 80s. The PL480 was a program done through Continental Grain in the United States, and that was the first time under his administration that Liberians got the privilege and the right to import directly. At first, it was done by foreigners, and then I think he changed that and awarded the first contract to Jefferson Gajia, who was a Liberian working on Wall Street at the time with Van Eckers and Stoots, with a financing company. He was able to raise the type of funding from Wall Street to be able to fund the PL480 project, which was very useful for Liberia. The prices remained stable, and there was availability of that all the time because there was a revolving letter of credit through the Chismahaden Bank. So that was what happened. And then, when you talk about agriculture, and that particular period was a very rich period in Liberia agriculture history, because during that time you had you had the Buncombe County Agricultural Development Project that was sponsored by the FAO and was headed by Young. And then you had the Lofa County Agricultural Development Project, LCADD, that was headed by Jeremiah Tooley, the late Jeremiah Tooley. And these were all agricultural extension projects that were sponsored by the FAO and the international community working together. And you had, that's when Lofa was the breadbasket. I mean, you had thousands of vehicles and trucks and pickup trucks and all that were working for the Lofa County and the Buncombe County Agricultural Development Project. Liberia did not have to import pepper and all these cucumber and all these stuff from anywhere else. We were supplying and people were taking across the borders because the LCADB and the BCADB were well managed under that period of our governance. And at that time, yes, rightly so, you mentioned Boca. Joseph Boca served as agriculture minister also, and subsequently I would be left managing director of the LPMC. So, in a supervisory role and as a member of the board of directors in his capacity as agriculture minister, and other ministers along with them were very effective in ensuring that the LCADB and BCADB were very effectively run by the guys who were manning them. So in line with your question, yes, the PL480 was a project the supply of stable food from continental grain in the United States. And yes, at the time, Dr. Buckeye awarded the first Liberian license to a Liberian importer, and it was controlled for a number of years. And if you'd like to know any more details, please ask.
Yes. So my second question is, there is this
Did you hear me?
misrepresentation, if I may say, that is being purported. Yes, we heard you loud and clear. You were very clear, sir.
Okay, very good.
So
very
there are reports lingering that
because yes. Okay.
Right. So there are reports lingering. There are reports lingering that when Joseph Boyka was there, the U.S. government did an audit and unfortunately discovered financial improprieties under his leadership, which has been politically manipulated now. What say you to that, based on experience?
I don't have any such information about that. I'm not certain about that. I just knew of the supplies and that it was a very effective scheme. If there was anything after that, I do not have any information about that and cannot speak to that. But I know that Jefferson Adia managed effectively the PL480 project until I think it was disrupted by some insurrection or something of that sort, and then the Continental Grain had to fall up because of some other reason, or Jefferson had to fall up because of other reasons. But I don't remember any such investigation or something about that. I don't remember.
Thank you kindly. I'll yield to the other panelists.
Thank you. I will now bring in Coach Q.
Well, thanks for this conversation. It's an honor to talk to you, sir. For those of us who are just reconnecting with our politics back home because we care about our people and our country and the direction in which we're going, it's always best to talk to people who've been there, who know things, and this is how we grow as a nation. So I'm honored to talk to you. Thanks for the privilege. Just a couple of questions, and I'm glad that you cleared up that you haven't read the report. It's a report that was done by the U.S., the United States Department of Accountability. It was not some study done in Liberia. It was done by the Senator Kennedy at the time. But I have a couple of questions. You said something that sparked my intrigue. You said votes have no quality. I thought that was profound. And I wanted to ask a question, my first question based on that. Votes have no quality. In the United States, I think you're referred to something along this line, especially when you're talking about Republican form of government, representative democracy. In the United States, they have this thing called the Electoral College. And the purpose of Electoral College was exactly for that reason, that sentiment you just shared. Votes have no quality. A, do you believe that votes should have quality? In that, those who are voting should be informed on the decisions that they're making because it affects the livelihood of not just themselves, but of, as present now, all 5 million people in Liberia.
Hello.
Yeah, go ahead, Chief Allen.
I didn't get the question. I heard you explaining something. I didn't get the
Okay.
question. What's the question in short? Yeah.
Okay. So my question was,
So what I think that votes should have quality, one, and what was the next one?
no, it was just one question for now. Do you believe that votes should have quality because of the fact that in a democracy, an informed voter is one of the pillars of democracy?
Yeah, but an informed voter and vote has no quality, have no bearing. To say that vote should have quality is to realign the natural power structure of nature. It's like saying that you can make it rain or that you can make the sun shine, and no one can realign the natural power structure of nature. It is natural that majority of the people over the many years because of lack of exposure and education and the quality of life for Liberians by various and varying administrations, you have Liberians in the majority that are not lettered to read the electronic media and know the worth of leaders and what they are, political leaders and what they have done. It is the sentimental value that people look at now at the district level. That's what I'm telling you. And in order to educate the people of the country to voting in the right direction, you have to be established at the constituency and zonal level, not at the county capital level. You don't amass the type of vote that you need to win a democratic process in Liberia. You see, like you mentioned, the United States and the Electoral College, that is a way to handpick their political leaders according to how they feel about it. That is not actually democratic. One vote, one man, one vote in the final analysis. Of course, the numbers are there, but decisions are made by a handful of people. That's the danger. If we do that in Africa, it's more dangerous. It's happening in some countries, but it makes it dangerous. It makes it very difficult to govern and does not amass the will of the people to support the government. That's why people have the attitude towards government like that in Liberia. People feel that they are not part of it. It is the people's thing. Once we have to get Liberians to that point, and that's the type of quality of education we are talking about, but not to make vote have quality, because there's no way you can do that with the type of with the various and varying levels in our society. It's hypothetical to say that vote should have quality, because the educated few would understand much more than someone who's voting simply because somebody is from his district or from his tribe. People say, I will follow this person because he's from that tribe. It does not become anything of quality. It becomes something of sentimental nature. So you cannot. It's difficult for you to be able to think that way. I don't think that any way that we, us humans, can make vote have quality. But we can influence the decision of voters by educating them at their levels, at the geographical, political levels.
Thanks for that answer. I don't quite agree, but
I hope
it's a conversation.
I hope I gave you some reason to understand what I'm saying, because I'm not dodging your question. I'm just telling you the reality, what is prevailing.
I understand. Yes, I did understand what you said. I'm saying I don't quite agree with your reasoning behind it, but I do understand. I think I understand the angle you're coming from, which begs the second question that I have, sir. How much responsibility do you think should be placed on our government to actually raise the level of information. I don't like using the term education because a farmer is educated. He's just educated on farm life. So just not necessarily formal education. How much responsibility do you think that our government should have on raising the level of information our people have so as they make those choices not based on sentiments, but however based on what's best for the greater good?
Well, I think we have to go now. I take it back again. We have to go back to you see, in years back when we were in school, I always tell people, our generation should be careful because we could go down in history as the most destructive generation of all time, because it was during our time that you had the Peace Corps volunteers, that you had the USIS library, you had the Football Foundation scholars teaching us. We had student exchange program with the United States and other European countries. We had running water and light. We had street lights that disciplined the movement of traffic. People stood online and those kind of things. So when we came back from school and thought that there was the fastest way was to go through the revolution. We started through Moja and formed student political parties and had riots. The riots led to strike. Strike led to civil commotion. And civil commotion led to vandalism and malicious mischief. And then finally a war in our country. Coming back to that, I would say that those were the days when you had vocational training institutes. You had teachers training college. You had VTCs and vocational training all over the country. Bung Mines and Firestone and LAMCO were required to have vocational technical education for our citizens. It was a condition on the contract. You had all these institutions built. Teaching was a profession. My mother was a teacher. And she graduated from the college, Teachers College at LU, and she and Mrs. Penner and all the women, and Cynthia Garber and Mrs. Jones, all of them came back from Tuskegee University, Edward Menti, Daniel Japa at the KRTTI, and all these institutions at the ZTTI, they were all there training teachers. Today, teacher is a job. Anybody can go to any school and say, I finished high school, and they give him a teaching job. You don't have any lesson plan. You don't have any teacher's education, a teacher's training program. You go in the classroom and start teaching people children. This is the type of degradation that our country has suffered over the years. It is just diverting from there. Now, when I talk about that, I talk about the solution too. The solution is one thing in Liberia. You have about 60% of the population are young people. And you have almost 35 to 40% between the age of 14 and 35. Most of them are not educated. They don't have a formal education. How do you put them in classrooms? Some of them are in their 20s and 30s. They cannot go back to school, so you have to get vocational training. You have to have several vocational training institutions around the country. First thing is a line of discipline. To wake up in the morning and go to class, and to stay in class until time for recess, and from recess to practical work, and things like that. You got to get that kind of orientation and discipline back into our lawless society. People do not stand online here. Every day people, even to stand online for food, people have to fight for it. Even if you go to parties and other things, people fight online for food, sufficient food, and everything is there, but they're still fighting and pushing each other. You go to the stadium, no one stands online. Everyone is struggling and pushing and sweating to get into the stadium. But you have to deal with a number. This is the type of orientation we need, and governments should concentrate, any leaders that come in to focus on industries and factories that will help us, one, transform our raw material, the finished and semi-finished product, create jobs for our youth that are disadvantaged. They work in factories and industries and line of trade, and to be able to support themselves and their families. You have to build that kind of orientation from a grassroots level, and the only way you can do that now is to set up vocational training institutes around the country, invest in that, and then invest in industries and factories that have raw material bases in Liberia, so that you can transform our raw material into finished or semi-finished products.
Thank you,
We
sir.
have 300 miles of coastal waters. 300 miles of the longest coast in sub-Saharan Africa. Maserati group of companies had 30 to 40 electronic radar fishing trawlers in that water there, shipping shrimp and lobster to Switzerland and Europe and America. I was in graduate school in Switzerland. I used to buy shrimp made in Liberia by Maserati group of companies from the supermarkets in Zurich. And it was sold all over the world too. So this is what we have to do here. We have to use our raw material to build our economy. Not to be looking for IMF and World Bank people to come and people who just got from college the other day to come and instruct your leadership on how to conduct your economic affairs.
Thank you, Chief.
When you can transform your raw material, strengthen your local currency and match it one-to-one with any international currency by your production, by producing, by being productive, using your raw material. And let me just dwell on one small point. How can a government give a franchise to a company to come and dig gold? Gold, which is form the basis of financial of money. You take that contract and you give it to a professional. People are mining gold and making gold bullions and shipping them out of the country. And your economy, your currency is dying. I don't understand that kind of contemporary logic. Some of you guys over there who are educated and exposed should come back and help with these kind of suggestions and recommendations. You cannot give somebody the right to come and dig up gold from your country and ship it out of the country in bullion and pay you a royalty for that.
Thank you.
You cannot grant extraordinary, I'm sorry to say so. You cannot give European vessels the right to come and do tuna in the 300 miles of coastal water and export them under labels that are not Liberian labels. So it doesn't strengthen our currency because the tuna fish that they're getting in those 22 trawlers they have out there are not Liberian label. They are not made in Liberia. They have European companies on them. These are some of the things that need to be looked at in our country. Also, for our people. Our people should be on these vessels. They should be seamen. You knew about the Seamen Club and all that thing in the years. There are thousands of them. Many of them are lingering around here of age and don't have the opportunity to get on a vessel or to work in a factory and learn a trade. So we must change now from this formal education of basic schools and teaching people A, B, C, and D, and try to get people to do some technical skills because they're over the age of going to elementary schools and high and secondary schools.
Thank you, Chief.
I'm
Chief
sorry,
Allen.
sorry to dwell too much on this.
I know.
So just to close, tie it up before you go. You're a wealth of knowledge. You said so much. You talked about the AmeriCorps program, how it pretty much helped Liberia. That should be sustained. It didn't. It wasn't. We need foundational education. I love that you said that. You also talk about how we can use the gold standard to make sure that our currency is boosted. So much that you were saying. I wish, hopefully we have time later on to talk about then the type of people we're supporting and the policies of support. But thank you so much for being here. Sounds like you're a Cummings man.
Well, Chief Allen, you talk about having interest in fat trades. There's a guy who is so passionate about fat trades being built in Liberia. The name is Dr. James T. Fisk. 2 questions, Dr. Fisk, for Chairman Allen.
Okay. Which one of the Allens? Because I know we have 2 Allens.
This is the Chief Cyril Allen, the Chairman Emeritus of the National Patriotic Party.
Okay, super. Thank you for that introduction and welcome, Mr. Allen. I just have one question first. Whenever the CDC, the current government of George Weah, is criticized, what he does is to retrospect and say that all of these years, there was nothing that was done for the country. Nothing. Zero. Charles Taylor was involved in the diamond, the illegal exportation of diamond out of Liberia, while Liberians lingered in poverty. There were no rules. There was nothing in the country for years under Taylor and then Ellen King. So then when you try to criticize CDC, it's like, go back. There was nothing that was done. Help us to understand. Help debunk that tonight. Help the Liberian people, those who are viewing, let them understand from the mouthpiece of the of the NPP that what the CDC is saying that nothing was done doesn't make sense. Help debunk that finally, if you don't mind.
I don't think the CDC. Are you talking about the Congress or the coalition?
No, I'm talking about the
About
current Congress for Democratic are saying that there was nothing that was done before them, and help us to debunk that, because we know Charles Taylor was president for some time, and these people are giving gold concessions.
Yeah,
Charles Taylor gave diamond concessions.
Chief, we're here. We're listening to you.
Yeah.
I can hear you. You were saying something.
Okay.
I'm saying the CDC, whenever you try to criticize them, what the argument is that under the lives of Charles Taylor, there was nothing that was done for Liberia. In fact, there was more exploitation of the natural resources, more exploitation of the degradation that you mentioned. So help debunk that tonight, that what the CDC is saying, that you guys didn't do anything, is not true. Help us understand that.
Well, no one. I mean, I don't think the CDC, the coalition, have represented anything of that nature. Maybe that's been some individual opinions or just expressed, but there's no such belief in the coalition.
Well, there's a lot of belief like that. You go all on the internet, but the simple empathizers. That's all they're talking about. Even George Weah, in the State of His Nation, mentioned there was nothing that was done. George Weah.
No, I don't.
Nothing was done before him.
I don't know. I don't think it was that. I think maybe there's a misunderstanding of that. There was no such representation that nothing has been done in the country. Be that as it may.
Relatively speaking, we can say nothing as in zero. Relatively speaking, nothing was done.
Because a lot has been done in Liberia by several regimes, even the Salif administration.
Let's talk about Charles Taylor.
In terms of infrastructure development and putting some kind of discipline in this country with respect to the type of institutions that were established to checkmate, even though Liberians cannot be checkmated. It's not governments that come in with any impression of doing this. It is Liberians that are in these jobs and professions that are not diligent in the discharge of their duties. The Liberians are just greedy all the time. We put them in jobs. They want to steal from the government. They want to abuse government property, and it's Liberians.
So what did the MPP do that says that? What did the MPP do that says that what the CDC is saying is not true?
And
what did the MPP do that tells you that what the CDC is saying? Because George Weah, his argument.
If you want to, I can name
name some, please.
The MPP achievement. The first group that ever put a bridge over the Sempen River and the Cestus River from Grand Bassa to Sino, 54 kilometers is the Taylor administration, the Central Bank of Liberia, the Ministry of Gender, and all those things. There are lots of things that were done in the country before this administration. We are part of this administration, and we know we are integral part of the administration, and we know that there's no such things harboring that no government has done anything. We can go there and rehearse now to debunk everything. Let's start from Tubman and go on to Talbot, and I can even tell you.
I'm only interested in the MPP.
Yeah.
I'm only interested in the MPP versus, even though you're part of the current government, but when we makes a statement, and I want you to speak to what you know, so you know much about the activity of the MPP.
But I give you a typical example. The LRA, I mean, that's an establishment by the MPP-led government. The Central Bank of Liberia now, which used to be National Bank, was done by FINREP. To set up a central bank for Liberia. And several ministries and counties were created, Bapolu County. These are things that were established during the 52nd, I think, 51st legislature under Taylor. So, I mean, no one can make that kind of categorical declaration. It will be insane to make such a deduction. I don't think that there's anything of that nature harboring. I mean, the Accra Agreement, the Accra Peace Accord, alone to bring peace and stability to Liberia, to bring a transitional government, and nominate Julie Bryan and others to serve on the transitional government, and come back to peace and election. That's an NPP-led government objective supported by the international community. There are lots of other things that you can talk about. Building the bridge at Lokoto, connecting Liberia to La Côte d'Ivoire. I mean, several things were done, during that administration. I don't want to dwell on it because people say I'm blowing my own horn because I was the national chairman of the NPP at the time. And there were many things. We sponsored several bills that brought about some stability to our economy. We had a stable economy, a very low budget, but an $8 million budget, but it was a realistic budget. It couldn't go beyond what the government could collect at the time. So that's realistic. And those are some of the things that basically you can count as objective institution building.
Okay, so what you said is leading me to your second and final question. Help us understand. Let's try to quantify this discussion. Help us to understand, because at the time of Charles Taylor, we can say, because the last census, 5 million, we can say Liberia was roughly 4 million with an adult population. What's that?
To be clear, so I respond accordingly.
Are you hearing me or not?
Yes, you are clear now.
Okay. I'm saying help us to understand at the time of Charles Taylor's government, because it relates to what's happening now. The adult population in Liberia would have been at roughly around 1.5 million or 2 million people. Prior to Charles Taylor, because one of the reasons why he brought the war, he said Liberian girls had become prostitutes because of poverty, and there was so much poverty all across the country. Help us to understand, after his administration, how many jobs did Charles Taylor create for the Liberian people? Because you've just clearly articulated that the major problem, the major concern of Liberia was job creation. So I would expect that was an issue that was articulated to Mr. Taylor. Help us to understand, how many jobs did Taylor create for those 2 million Liberians that he could have created through factories and industries and the rest of it? Help us. How many jobs did Taylor create?
Well, during what I counted all the while for the 4 years was 82,680 jobs created.
That would be, what's the percentage?
The government. I can tell you.
What's the percentage?
You had about 12 timber companies operating.
What's the percentage?
You had yellow machine operators. You had tanker and trailer drivers. You had waffengers and people on the tugboats. And
so Taylor took unemployment to how much percentage in Liberia? Let's talk about in terms of percentage. Charles Taylor, under Charles Taylor, the percentage of Liberians who were employed versus unemployed, what was it?
I wouldn't know specifically on those type of ratio. I don't want to give misinformation, but I know very well that OTC alone with the plywood and veneer plant created 2,800 jobs. That's one location in Grand Bassa County. That was looted by the Model Group when they took over Buchanan. But there are many other. The timber industry alone had over 60,000 workers. The timber industry alone, because there were 12 timber companies operating at full capacity. The iron ore mining company was operating. I had about 2,000 employees at Leminco when I was president. I was president of Leminco for 2 years.
Were those jobs created by Charles Taylor, or were those existing jobs?
Exporting iron ore, the pelletizing plant was working effectively, and all that. These are things that happened, and they were all looted during the last stage of crisis.
So you are blaming unemployment on looting.
The port of Buchanan was dragged up to 16 meters. And
so you are blaming unemployment on looting.
I mean, those are some of the
unemployment to looting.
Hello, somebody stop.
You are blaming unemployment to looting.
In the country now?
No, under the NPP.
Yeah, but I mean the unemployment was on a ratio basis. Is not. It doesn't resemble anything right now because the numbers have increased. I mean, the numbers are abnormal. The urban matriculation, the urban movement in the country has doubled, has tripled. In fact, you have in Montserrat County alone, you have over 2 million people added since Taylor administration.
Isn't it because they are going to look for jobs in Montserrado?
Also,
Because there are no jobs up interior, so they are drifting towards Montserrado to look for jobs. Isn't that something that under the NPP?
There are no timber companies operating. There are no logging companies operating. We are giving all those franchises out, even though we have 32 million acres of rainforest. We have given that right out to what they're protecting the environment. So those people, all of them are out of jobs. Yes, you don't have the mining company operating at any capacity. No one is out there supporting the farm. There are no schools in the Yekepa area. There are no, things. All these things are closed down. So you expect that the people will be unemployed. Then each government come in, remove technicians. You have mining engineers. You have hydrogeologists.
Okay, 30 seconds.
Economists at the Ministry of Agriculture who are not working. They are displaced because of appointments, political appointments, and the professionals are left without jobs. This happens every government. It's not only one. It happens all the time. You have electrical engineers sitting down in the estate playing checker in the morning when they're supposed to be on the pools because there are no jobs for them.
Thank
no
you.
one has created the avenue for them to have work.
Thank you, Chief.
And that's the responsibility of national government, and we should take, all governments should be concerned about that, and any government for that matter.
Thank you, Chief. Mrs. Letty Brooks Roberts, then Jay Rennie.
Yes,
okay?
hi. Good evening, Mr. Allen. How are you? I'm Letitia Roberts. Welcome to Bridge Radio Africa. I just heard you, narrate some of the historical events of Liberia, and as a person who was part of the government then and now, I think you said you're retired now, but you were in the CDC government as well, correct?
Yes.
Great. And so you're talking about the unemployment, the low skill education, and all of the things that someone would say you and the former President Charles Taylor were the one that caused this kind of degradation to our country. And you being privileged to still be a part of this current government or past government, what are you doing or have you done to help to rectify these issues rather than just make suggestions? And we still have the lack of education, teachers with, just as you narrated, I don't even have to repeat them. What's being done to fix that problem or those problems?
Well, from my standpoint as an advisor, and not an advisor to the government, but as a senior citizen, I've always said very clearly, these things are all enshrined in the platform written by a committee which I chaired on the governing council. There's a platform that talks about priority to education and to creating vocational institutions and building industries and factories. It's all in the manifesto of the party. I mean, at most you can do that and have it enshrined. If the opportunities are there and you have the right investors and the right type of enabling environment, I'm certain that these things will happen. We need to create that. And we need to start.
How do you create it when you're part of the government and it's not done? We're at the end of this
but it's not government leadership. It is not so much government to do, my dear. Liberians also. Industries and factories are owned by private citizens. Manufacturing and processing industries are owned by Liberians. Liberians, they should own them. In Nigeria and Ghana, those things are owned by Ghanaians. They have to build the economy.
And that's with a thriving government that creates that.
Yeah,
Mr. Allen
is the only one to create jobs. No,
we agree. Government is not the only one.
Are you there, madam?
Yes, I'm responding to your comment that government is not just government, but wouldn't you agree that it's the government that creates the enabling environment for all of these to be
I agree with
possible?
you 100%.
Yeah, but nobody can just. I cannot leave America and just go and start creating jobs. I mean, in a
I'm not
small
arguing.
business, but not in a, in a high scale business.
Yeah, madam. When you finish, then I will speak.
Okay, I'm done.
Mhm.
What I said was little individuals can go and create small businesses, but the government you just talked about previously, you had yellow trucks and all these tugboats. Can I come and bring a tugboat and start running fishery on the Liberian waters as an
Yes,
individual?
I think Liberians can make the application for that. I'm certain that if a team of Liberians, a consortium of Liberians, particularly from anywhere in Europe, can get together and bring any form of industries or factories here to help us transform the raw material, you create jobs and you'll make a lot of money. There are industries in the United States and other places that are semi-automatic machines or woodwork plants and other things that can transform wood into material for furniture. There are furniture making factories. There are several forms of industry to process raw material. I have a line of an industrial line. I have the farina mill. I have the rice mill. I have the palm oil mill. I make over 150 drums of oil per annum. I have 7,000 oil palm trees. I'm just saying that to let you know that Liberians can do that.
And I agree with you.
Criticizing all the time, we should get some industries here. Group of Liberians should sit together, even right in the United States, pool your fund together and come and get a license to set up a giant industry. I think it will be a good idea. Even I see people in the opposition that say they have a lot of money. But over the last 5 years, I've not seen them build any industries or factories in the country to create jobs. I've not seen them create any kind of jobs at all for their own partisans who they are calling now after 6 years to come and vote for them again. How many jobs did you create for your partisans? How well did you engage the national government to even employ your partisans who are qualified into government? It's not a party government. Government for Liberia.
Thank you.
Qualified and competent people will be recommended.
Thank you, Chief.
My
leadership is required in doing that.
Mr. Garley.
Yes.
I hear you say all these things and it sounds great speaking it. However, I will use the very simple person who is an advocate, Henry Costa, just to register the COP. He had to go under someone else. We have a government that is very, for lack of a better word, that is when they don't like you, they rebel against you. So how is it that people who you call opposition can come in and create jobs? But before I let you go, I just want to ask you, with these mills that you have, how many people roughly do you employ? And I thank you for your time.
Okay, starting, I employ on the average 63 contractors and 52 full-scale employees, workers in the 3 factories. That's what I have. I have a clinic, also a 10-bedroom clinic. I have nurses there to take care of my workers and all that. Also, we find out the school that my mother had many years ago has over 600 students. And you have teachers there and janitors and cleaners and all that there. We all those people are the employment just created at my area. I'm just saying that with that example, if most Liberians were thinking about that, we would have some semblance of additional employment created. People leave 400 acres of land in Lofa County and come to Monrovia, and they go to court to fight for one lot when the grass is growing and taking over the country. I have a belief that anywhere grass can grow, food can also grow there. And so our country is just full of greenery, but there's also grass and bush. We should transform that into agriculture products and crops and feed ourselves.
Letitia, come on now. Let's share the time a little bit, please. Come on, Letitia. You have several follow-ups and you ask 2 questions. Come on, Letitia. Jeez. Thank you, Mr. Allen. Would not go to, if you just joining us. This is ASHFORD GARLEY live on Bridge Radio Africa. We want to say a big thanks to the Chief Cyril Allen at a very short notice, and we'll have a lot of people in the room tonight that came to listen to the Chief. J. Renin Dapo.
Yes, let me say a big thank you to your audience here tonight, and let me say a big thank you to Chief Cyril Allen. It is an opportunity, and I see that as an honor. This is a man that I heard growing up in Liberia, and I even heard over the radio when I was still in grade school. And to be here, sitting here in the United States and listening to him trying to at least re-educate, create an awareness. I have one comment to make, and the second would be a question. Let me first of all say a big thank you to Chief Cyril Allen for at least enlightening us here on some of the accomplishments of President Taylor. One that I'm very proud of is the establishment of the Liberia EPA. As an environmentalist, that's something I think we were lacking. And I think that's something that when we educate our people, it would be a legacy of President Taylor going beyond where we are today. And to see what Liberia has become, I just want to say a big thank you to President Taylor for at least establishing such a standard. Another thing I want to also thank Chief Cyril Allen about is government is not a private entity. The institution, whether it is agency or it is ministry, they provide services. Businesses, on the other hand, are giving to private citizens or partners that want to do business with Liberia. Many people do not understand that. They try to politicize those things, and that is why we are limited today in our scope in the expansion of our own. I who here, ASHFORD GARLEY, right now I'm developing my own webpage, and very soon I will be asking you to set up an interview so that I can show to you what I have done here and what I anticipate taking to Liberia as an environmentalist, and what will be my goal, my objective, and what I want to what I want to achieve after that. As long as I am a Liberian, there should be no reason that I should be afraid to go back to Liberia. No. All right. With that being said, Chief Cyril Allen, what I would like to ask of you, if Taylor was going to be a full-time president, that is with no interruption, what do you think Liberia would have been today, Chief Cyril Allen?
Well, I tell you one thing. No one can tell the future or otherwise, but I think that it would have been much better, more peaceful, because the industries and things that were destroyed, they would be functional, and maybe we would have had some resistance against the throwing our 30 to 40,000 people out of jobs simply because we want to adhere to something. I know you said you are an environmentalist, but really, with 33 million acres of timber forest and lack of a functioning timber industry that deprive 30 to 40,000 of our people from jobs, that would be a concern. So I think Taylor was moving towards the establishment of industry and the rebuilding of the Teachers Training Institute, or where he was a product and other things like that. It was mostly for industries. But that's the case, such is the condition and such is the time. We don't want to talk about something. I'm not a person who will talk about probabilities or hypotheticals. I cannot even predict whether it will be better or worse, because everyone was after Taylor fighting a war. Everybody wanted to fight some kind of war and destroy the country. It's Liberians that I keep saying. You know, the lady who spoke over there was interesting because, you see, coming to Liberia to get a license and being denied is simply because of the type of resentment that Liberians have for each other. There's no government that comes in and say, don't give Liberia a license to come and set up an industry. It is Liberians sitting on those seats that have some kind of misinformation about a group of Liberians who want to establish business and try to delay them or try to deny them that kind of right that they have under the laws of Liberia. It is not government. We blame government all the time. Government not doing this and government not opening this. Government are supposed to go build industry for Liberia or for anybody. All those industries and factories that are mothballing in the United States there have been foreclosed by mortgage companies. Can work in Liberia, they are labor intensive. They have been displaced by technology. Nothing wrong with that. But Liberians want to buy used cars and come back here and drive around with car and bring one little hairdressing salon and put a hell of a Jeep in front of it, or bring one little small little shop with one container and try to buy a hell of a big Jeep and be driving it, and things like that, when you can buy small and medium scale industries and bring it home. You have land here. You have properties here. You don't develop the properties. You leave them and you pay horrible mortgage. Look at the Nigerians. 10 of them live in one room in the United States, but go to the villages and towns and see the type of homes they build. Look at the Ghanaians. And look at the other Africans. That's what they do. Liberians have big mortgages and big companies and big cars and spend all the money over there and come back home retired, depending on a couple of $1,000s a month as enough.
Thank you, Chief.
I just want to clarify one thing. I'd like to clarify one thing.
And more innovative and creative, and bringing most of these small-scale industries that are there, bring them home to Liberia, and let's create jobs for our people.
Thank you, Chief.
I think we have a fairly enabling environment. The government is not hostile to Liberian investors. There is not hostile to Liberians coming back home to work. It is Liberians that have resent that. Local people here think that American people coming from away, come and take their job and come and take the same attitude of Liberians. When people are qualified and competent, doctors and whatnot coming back home, and there are only people coming to take ours. What job you got?
Thank you, Cyril Allen.
Coming home to work, open up the corridors for them to be able to do that.
Thank you, Chief. Thank you so much, Chief. Thank you.
Another thing that Taylor administration did was to grant extraordinary incentive to Liberians and create duty-free at National Investment Commission to trucks and machines and technology and whatnot.
Thank you, Chief.
One-stop shop where you come in, you don't have to go to finance and commerce and justice. You go straight to NIC.
And that's the voice of Chief Cyril Allen making his presence felt tonight.
You got to go to every ministry to be asking you for bribes.
Thank you, Chief.
That's another thing that I did when I was chairman of the Investment Commission. One-stop shop. So these are some of the things that Liberians should copy. Let's copy the good things and stop copying the bad things.
Thank you, Chief.
Stop that your government is hostile to Liberians coming back to do business. It's not correct.
It's true.
You can get a teacher training institute to come here and take your parlor and build a dormitory for boys and girls.
Chief, I think your point is well taken, sir. Thank you, Chief. Your point is well taken.
That's what Liberians supposed to be doing for Liberians. Start talking about government do this and government do this and government not supposed to employ people who won't work for government.
That do point in the on that. Okay, yeah.
Can I make a clarity, please?
Yeah, make a clarity.
Thank you very much. So, Chief Cyril Allen, I don't expect you to respond, but I just wanted to make the clarity. Well, I think you did make a statement about environmentally not so friendly with the land that we have. I would say today, environmental management do support the expansion of land development and the proliferation of the expansion of manufacturing. It's just that we are taking a very different approach. So I don't think I hope you what you said is not what I'm trying to verify, but I just want to make sure that the message of the environmentalists, they are not in the business of preventing the expansion of our land for other resources or other improvement. I just want to make that clarity. We do support jobs.
No, let's respond to that. I agree with you 100% because, I can tell you that I did a few courses in agriculture and forestry also at the University of Liberia, and I believe that one of the fundamental characteristics of the logging FDA was to do the reforestation of the species that were cut from our forests during the deforestation. It's a good thing, but what I think is systematic forestry development is important. I think we should use it because that's a God-given right. You are an environmentalist. You know that Liberia has the largest rainforest in sub-Saharan Africa. Correct. We have 32 million acres of timber forest. Some have never been exploited. No road to even go to some of them. That's on record. It's good for our environment. It's for good protection. But at the same time, a surgical and systematic logging would create jobs and strengthen our local currency. You know that. 60% of the budget during the Taylor administration came from timber, and the establishment of plywood, sawmills, and all that created jobs. So, I understand the environmental thing, but I think you have to use what you have to get what you want. I suppose you name, and none of the Francophone countries have any rainforest because the French exploited all the timber from those forests, and now they talk about environmental protection, which is good. But that's what has happened over the years. Nigeria, Ghana, none of them. The British took all the timber from Ghana and Nigeria. They don't have any timber forest.
Chief Allen?
We have the largest rainforest.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you very much.
Part of that to
Chief
sustain
Allen, you
ourselves
want
and
to say the
our
big
economy
thank you.
and create jobs.
Okay.
That's my opinion.
Okay.
It's just an opinion.
Thank you. Now, the second round is each person is going to have one question. After that, then we'll go to the phone lines because people want to get a piece of you, Chairman. And this second round, let me begin the first question, and then we can go around the room. Why do we have so much extrajudicial killings in this government? Some people say it is because of corruption. What is your take, especially as it relates to the dead auditors, Glorious Card attack, etc.?
Well, I tell you one thing. All over the world, even in the United States where you are, there are all kind of killing going. So, you know, I don't want, I sometimes when you look at the situation surrounding these things, you wonder, why would somebody say a government would plan to go and kill an auditor? An auditor, I mean, my dear brother, you kill a judge that will make the decision, you will kill an auditor that will write paper and anybody can throw it under the desk. You know, so, I mean, I don't think it's you know, that is a misrepresentation of material facts. There's no system where a government organizes and says to go pay auditor. Who's an auditor? What important? What kind of threat is an auditor to a government, especially the type of government we got in Africa? You know, so, I mean, auditors have never been known to be people to be targeted for any such reason. That's why sometimes I'm perplexed with some of the publications I read. Yes, I'm with the issue of Doris Scott and them. I'm against the whole idea of the delay. There's so much delay in these cases. People derive all kind of suspicion. There's a lack of information disseminated properly by the security authorities. They are responsible to the citizens. They are paid by taxpayers' money. They must do their work and be diligent in the discharge of their duties.
So Chairman Allen,
that is the problem. I always say that
Chairman,
the problem in Liberia is that the functionaries in government are not diligent in the discharge of their duties.
Chairman Allen, educated people like the auditors, do you believe that they went on Broad Street to make up when they have hotels and motels all over the country?
No, I don't believe that either. I don't believe there's something that the people are not telling people, but definitely not an organized kill auditor. They were not important. I'm sorry to say that. I'm in government. I have an idea of how government works in Liberia and everywhere. An auditor is not an influential person enough to create any damage. I'm sorry to say that. Even the Bureau of General Auditor, where they make an audit and they find somebody guilty of something, they go to one place in the LACC and bribe people there and they get off the hook and go with impunity. That's the kind of system that we're running here. It's not nothing to do with you killing auditor for that purpose. He's not attacked. I don't think they attacked. I think there's some misunderstanding about their whole mystery of the death. But I think the police should have investigated and give the public a clear view of things that happened. And they're concealing information, everything, all they think are private. And this is a private matter. It's not a private matter. It's a public issue. And the public should be informed every step of the way. That's the responsibility. That's the thing that Liberians are so determined in the charge of their duties. They create bottlenecks in government and suspicion. I don't tell you people that Liberians do this kind of thing. And I know organized thing, I know government and say,
thank you.
Thank
you, Chief.
I'm telling you the truth. I want you to look at it that way.
Thank you, Chief.
The reality. Liberians are doing this thing to other Liberians. We just dislike each other and like to stare in each other way everywhere, even in the States and everywhere.
Okay.
You hate people for no reason. You and they got no power, but you just dislike them because of your own ego.
Thank you, Chief.
And Liberians have that problem, my brother. In every agency.
Thank you, Chief.
Go there, a lady is working at the desk. She's sitting down. You go to see the phone. She on the internet. She on Facebook with a government computer. I don't even want to respond to you.
Thank you, Chief. I thought Letty Brooks supposed to be telling me tonight. I don't know.
Come to work at 3 o'clock.
Okay, just,
A director of a bureau say, "Oh, the man, the empty time." So he goes.
Yeah, time. But he said yes, and you have to.
Attitude is that we're doing it to
Thank you,
ourselves.
Chief Allen. Chief Allen, thank you so much. We'll go to Idatu's added to ask his question. Coach Q, James, Letty, Jay Rennie, then we'll go to the telephone line. Please don't call now. Now, some have already started calling. Please don't call now. Idatu's added. One question, please.
Chief Allen, when I listened to you talk about the history of Liberia and how productive our country was pre-1980, I was highly impressed because seditions have a way of saying since 1847, the best
Please be clear.
of
I'm
Liberia's
not
days
clear.
are
Please.
now.
I've not heard anything you said.
Be clear that
Right. So, right. So, yeah. So seditions often say since 1847, nothing good was happening in Liberia until President George Weah came to power. But what just recounted said very clearly that Liberia's best days seem to have happened during your time when Joseph Boyka effectively ran LPMC. Jobs were created. We had good hospitals, good schools, which of course you're proud of and can speak to that. So I just want to say thank you for recounting that very, very profound history concerning Liberia's best days. That we in this generation, our dreams and aspirations seem to yet be unfolding. Thank you.
the boy and Joseph Boyka business.
Yeah, I can jump in, correct?
Yes, you can.
With all due respect, Mr. Allen, it was really hard to listen to you recount some of the things you said. Really, really hard. And let me say why. It seems like you do a lot of victim blaming. First thing first.
Do what?
Government.
It
You
seems
do a
like
lot of victim blaming.
Victim
A
blaming.
lot of victim blaming. I'll explain myself.
no.
I'll do the best I can to explain myself. Give me a second. When you talk about how there are arid land in a country area and people should be there, go there and work, that's not how the world works. Anyone who studied any world history, people are, as time goes on, farmers are going to move. It happened in England, it happened in the United States, it happened in a bunch of other countries. Farmers are going to move off the farm and come to city life to earn cash. That's the trend. That's the natural evolution of how the world works. So when the government does not create the enabling environment to give these people a job, a leg up where they can now transition their life into the next phase they want to go to, it is their fault. That is their direct responsibility to create the environment. And you said it. So to go back on it and say, well, people should be working on the farm, that's not how the world works. That's victim blaming. Secondly, it makes perfect sense why you kill auditors, because Pit Patrol right now, with a government that's been scrutinized, it's a bad thing. So that report could have adverse effect on the government. So it makes perfect sense why you assassinate them. Third thing I wanted to talk about before I ask my questions.
No, but come on, man.
My question, it's real quick. It's real quick. We talk about the creation of the EPA by Charles Taylor. We have dredging going on. We having deforestation. Where's this EPA? I think a lot of times people just filibuster and use terms and titles to cover up for inadequacies. Here's my question. Mr. Allen, what do you believe should be the minimum wage paid to a Liberian worker? Everyone talks about, yeah, I hired this person, there are jobs. We're talking about quality jobs. What do you believe we should be paying? What would be livable wages for a worker, a non-skilled worker, or a low-skilled worker in Liberia at this time, since you hire so many people?
Well, the minimum wage I have on my farm, I can tell you, is casual laborers make about, on the average, 15,000 liberty, which is the equivalent of $100 a month. That's the lowest paid. But I don't think, I think the minimum wage in Liberia should be a little higher than that because of the cost of living now and nowadays. But basically, do you have the institutions that would pay those kind of salaries? Do they earn that kind of money? Do they reduce their staff and keep a handful of people, or what? I mean, you must have the institutions to pay that quality of wages before you make a declaration. Otherwise, it's just empty smoke you blow to say minimum wage should be this, and no one complies with that. So I would not be able to guess. It's based on you could talk about GDP and stuff. I don't know about that, but I know it has to do with the number of jobs and the number of job creation and the probability of additional jobs and the type of institutions that are established under that type of regime.
Thank you. Okay.
So basically, my idea is, look, I know what I pay my workers minimum. They are unskilled and semi-skilled workers, and so we pay them a salary anywhere between $100 and $160, $125.
Okay.
Supervisors go up to
Thank you,
200.
Chief. Again, folks,
Basically,
don't
that's it.
call yet.
Yeah.
I know some of you are calling now. Please don't call yet. We announce when to call. And folks, I know you want to learn your premise before asking the question. Can we please just make it brief? With that said, we want to go to Dr. James T. Face.
But some of these premises need to be addressed, but I let them go because basically we are in a conversation. We are not in an argument.
And you also
so I let them go. But there are certain reservations
and you also
to responding to some of the
and you
comments.
also don't like to
misunderstanding also.
And you also don't. And you also don't know how to make your answer short, So go ahead, Dr. Fisk.
Yeah, I just want to ask I want to ask a quick question, which is a premise for my actual question. Mr. Allen, when was the last time you spoke with Charles Taylor?
I speak with Taylor every week. I just spoke to him on Sunday evening at about 3 o'clock, but the phone went off because his time was up. It was after 6 o'clock.
Okay,
so I spoke to him on Sunday evening at about.
Okay, good to know. So let me ask this question: how does he feel that he's sitting rotting in a jail somewhere in Europe? His son is rotting in a jail somewhere in the United States of America for the heinous crimes that they committed against the people of Liberia. And then you have the likes of Prince Johnson, who's calling the shots in Liberia, who's never answered for his crime against the people of Liberia, and some other people who were identified by the TRC. Do you, in your view, think that the clamor of the Liberian people to have a Truth and Reconciliation Commission is something that should be instituted? Or, as in the argument of CDC, since it was not instituted under Ellen, then it makes no sense to go ahead with a war crimes court. Please help us understand, and perhaps maybe you can even throw in the economic crimes court as well if you choose to.
Yes. I'm of the impression, and I've been that way from the Accra Accord. Maybe you understand that I was one of the negotiators at the Accra Accord, and we initiated this idea of the Truth and Reconciliation Commission to be able to deal with these issues, because they are many unanswered issues. I agree 100% that there should be an opportunity for Liberians in a fair atmosphere. You see, because of the type of sentiments we have in the country and the hatred and vendetta Liberians have, it will be very difficult to have a fair process without people coming up with stories. And there are a lot of misrepresentation and misinformation about what happened and what people did and who were eating him or being hot and all those kind of misconceived ideas that will make it very difficult to have a very transparent process of a truth and reconciliation or a raw war crime or economic crime court without audits. And Liberia cannot go back to some of these audits. Time have elapsed, and even documents of these agencies, the ministry.
So, are you of the view that there should be no war crimes court, or that it shouldn't be in Liberia? What is it? There should be none, or there should be none in Liberia? What exactly are you saying? Hello?
Ashford? I think we lost the sound when Ashford left.
There's no punishment, there's no penalty, there's no hearing of any magnitude on any of these issues. It becomes the order of the day, indiscipline. So
the question I was asking before you went off, the question I was asking before you went off air. Are you saying that there should be no war crimes court at all, or that there should be no war crimes in Liberia? What are you saying?
Did you listen to me?
No,
I said there should be both a war crime and an economic crime court. It has to be conducted in a transparent manner, and you have to make sure that you have independent people that will make decisions and listen to the information and take decisions. If you get Liberians all around there to be pointing fingers and saying things, you will never get the true story about anything, because everybody will bring hypotheticals and probabilities without documentation or without any kind of evidence. But there should be a forum for that. I've said that over and over. I've said that from Accra. I've said that in several of my interviews. There should be an economic crime code. There must be audit and everything to justify some of those things and like that. There's nothing wrong with that. I think it's necessary.
Okay, thank you. And again, for the record, I would like to say welcome to the show. And at this time, one more question from Mrs. Roberts and Randy. Then we'll go to the telephone line. And for the record, Charles Tittle is not in jail because of crime he committed in Liberia. It was something that he did in Sierra Leone.
We're coming to that. We're coming to that.
Okay, Mrs. Roberts.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you. Thank you again, Mr. Allen. Thank you for your patience and your time. I just wanted to ask you a question. Recently, we heard Senator Prince Johnson discuss or give a recitation on how during the war, after the war, Mrs. Taylor was found in Nigeria with suitcases of money from the central bank that you just said her husband brought to prominence, or was part of his legacy. What do you say to this? That our money, the country's money, are in suitcases in other countries or in other banks, foreign banks.
Well, my dear, Prince Johnson, first of all, you got to know, you have to know Prince Johnson. If you know him like I know him right from the days in Nigeria, when he was training as a Special Forces Commando, then you know the quality of person that you're talking about. There's nothing that Prince Johnson say, even at the pulpit, that I would take to be anything of any sound truth. It's all emotional and misunderstanding, because there was never a time that Mr. Taylor was ever arrested anywhere with a suitcase of money. Absolutely not. The international bank transfer, the opportunity, you flying in a private jet and going somewhere, where airport you saw anybody with a case of money. It's not true. It's untrue. And I don't want to dwell on it, because I know that there's no fact. But then when Taylor left for Calabar, he left on a private jet straight to Calabar, and there was no check of balance or anything at any airport for anyone to determine anything like that.
Thank you, Mr. Allen.
That is the fact I'm telling you.
Thank you, Mr. Allen.
So then what happened to all his money?
Well,
he went on a one-way jet.
First of all,
where are all his assets?
Taylor told you that he had no bank account nowhere in the world, and no one has proven that he has one penny in any bank anywhere in the world. They said he had $3 billion in Swiss bank, and he said, please, if you find one account with my name on it anywhere in the world, please send it to the Liberian people who have their money. And no one has come up with one dime and one bank account or one reference to say that Taylor had a dime anywhere. So
he had it right in Liberia.
No, that I can tell you, if you want to know, I can tell you that Taylor sustained himself basically on gifts and grants from his friend Colonel Gaddafi to sustain himself, to make some of those trips, and all the government had no such money to undertake those.
Thank you, Mr. Allen. I think the question.
They were able to find
thank you, Mr. Allen. I think the question was answered. Rennie Dapo.
Yes,
thank you.
You are muted, Rennie.
Thank you, ASHFORD. So what I would like to say quickly here is, when Taylor established the EPA, it was an institution that was established with no capacity building, and did a very excellent job for the mere fact that the succeeding government should be able to build the infrastructure. So when we are engaged in this conversation, I hope that people will understand that it is not just one government that's supposed to do it all. It's an incremental order of the challenges we have. And it is a shame for someone to sit here and want to commend 45 years of failures that we live in today. Even the individual himself, without no better health care, is struggling today. That's a shame. Chisuru Allen, what I would like to hear from you as the second round is given to me, what are you proud of in terms of President Weir progress versus the challenges that we should look forward to? That's my question.
Okay, good. Let me just clear your comment first about the EPA. Yes, I think the EPA was established without any kind of, without sufficient funding, and there was no funding coming from the international community. But during the Eileen Sharif administration, a lot was done to beef up the EPA and or provide better opportunities and whatnot for the operation. Also, this administration have made some valuable contributions with the quality of personnel that was nominated there, Dr. Tape. And there's been a lot of international support and finances for the EPA, and a lot is happening with the carbon credit and all those things. So, that's for your EPA, and I like your talk. I can talk about it too because I'm involved partially. Now, what I can say that's good. One is today you had almost 10,000 students at the assembly at the CDC headquarters thanking President Weah for paying their WIAC fee. They finished taking their WIAC last exams today, and they came by to say thank you to him. It was crowded and whatnot. That's one thing with the free education at the government school level, and whatnot. That's one thing I'm proud of, because a lot of Nigerians have the opportunity to go to high school and graduate and take their WIAC exams to prepare them for the future. So that's one. And then I'm proud of the construction of roads too. In the southeast, they're coming along with some contracts and road, Golden Petroleum, and those companies are helping. There's a new Bombay Kipmount highway and a new asphalt plant established along the Kipmount Road that is under construction now. That's one opening. That's the first time I think any road of any magnitude has been built in that part of the country, which has been unfair for many years. I'm happy that that project is on. The road from Lukwatu to Sanikule, and from Sanikule to Kanta, and from Kanta, of course, Eileen Sharif went up to Kanta with the road, and then they continued from there to Sanikule. Now it's 25 minutes from Kanta to Sanikule. It used to be 2.5 hours. So I'm happy with that too. And the road beyond that, to the border, the Liberian border, is also one thing I'm proud of. And then the road going through Saklipi and other places through Nimba County. I think those are landmark achievements that I'm proud of. I'm not too proud of the type of bills and the laws that have been passed by the national legislature. I'm not happy with the legislative branch of government at all, because they are just about themselves and concerned about increasing their salaries and giving more to themselves, and not thinking about the population that elected them to perform the duty that they are performing and to get the type of benefits that they are getting. So I'm not too happy with the type of laws that have been promulgated, because I think most of them are one-sided and not in the interest of the general population and national economy. That's my comment on that.
Okay, well, Chief, we want to say a big thanks to you. Just before we go to the telephone line, you said, I don't know if you said this, but let me read what we have here. That I have not told you to call yet. Please stop calling. I will announce the number, please. Okay. You said the ANC political leader lacks the numerical strength and basic institutions and capacity to make any impact in these elections. And you went further to say that Ambassador Boyka cannot be entrusted with the president. Stop calling, please. Jeez. Hold on. You say Ambassador Boyka, all right, cannot be entrusted with the presidency because of his inability to resolve internal bickering within the CPP. Do you still maintain that, sir?
That's me. That's me. You could, yeah, that's two separate interviews.
Okay. And you still believe that, sir?
Yes. If you want me to elaborate, I can give you 2 minutes on that.
Okay, 2 minutes. 2 minutes on
to clear the minds of
yeah,
people.
2 minutes, please.
Because I don't just make categorical statements.
Okay, 2 minutes, please.
Okay, well, one, I told you here earlier that the strength of a political party and an institution, one, is to be broad-based. And you have 73 constituencies in the country. You have to establish yourself along those lines. If you do not do that before the electoral process, you lack the capacity to be able to galvanize the type of votes that you need to win. So you cannot make any, the ANC cannot make anything. I mean, I predict, and I want you to mark it, the ANC cannot get over 7.5% of the votes of the 2-point-something million voters. Absolutely not. That's one, because of the way they have established their institution. They have not formed alliances. It's a single party that just got a handful of people thinking that by doing sentiments that they're going to win the Democrats. They have to work harder. I'm not criticizing them. I'm just telling them that as a political party and a political institution, and I mean, with the type of alliances they have, they're supposed to extend their bases and create a partisans of magnitude at the constituency level, even at the zonal level, to be able to win. They don't even have party headquarters in the 15 counties. They have to establish that. It's one of the demands of a political party in this electoral process. It's not a presidential election. It's a presidential election. You have to have legislators that will bring votes to you because of their popularity at the district level. So that's one. And you say, I said that, former Vice President Borkai, under his watch, the ANC, the CPP disintegrated. His inability to call his two young brothers, Ben Uri and Eli Cummings, together and say, listen, you have to stop this row, and let's get on with the CPP work and focus on the interests of the Liberian people. He didn't do that. He did not have the capacity to put two of them together and try to keep the CPP as one party, even though he was chairman for 1 year. That shows some sort of kind of slack in national leadership. The capacity to lead is the ability to get people together under one umbrella for one objective. That's national leadership. That's what I've conducted the MPP in that manner. That's why it is still as a political institution to reckon with in the political sphere of the country. Why the political parties have disintegrated the NDPL, the TRUI party, after their leaders leave the country? They are no longer political parties. But look at the NPP, it's still a formidable force in the democratic process. An organized political party that have even constitutional convention and national convention on time as required by the National Election Commission. That's the system of politics that we have here. We must comply with that. So, in the absence of that, you cannot be hopeful in the democratic process.
Okay.
Simply by picking someone from a geographical region, a vote-rich county doesn't give you the vote. First thing, Nimba County have 5 different tribes, and they are not united. And they will not all vote for a vice presidential candidate because of the type of division they have in Nimba County and the dislike for each other. It is very difficult. The Crowns will never support the Guilds. The Manos will never support the Guilds. The Madingos will never support either of them. You have to understand the political geography of the country when you want to talk politics. It's not about just different about it.
Thank you,
these
Chief.
are the things that I'm bringing to
Thank
the
you, Chief
line,
Allen. Thank you so much.
There is a process here, and we understand it and are part of it.
With the caliber of person you are, we will stay here all night, but we don't have the luxury of time. So we want to take a few calls. You can begin calling now. The telephone number to call is 267-248-5295, 267-248-5295. And I believe we have a caller on the line. Hello, caller. Tell us your name. Hello, caller. Tell us your name.
Oh, I'm Herbert.
Go ahead, Herbert.
Listening to Mr. Allen speak about, he listed all the qualities and stuff like that. But it's such a darn shame when this person knows that Mr. Charles Taylor, the records are there. Within the 6 years he was president, he embezzled over $100 million. It's not me saying that, the records are there. That's 1. 2. I heard he also say that, Taylor say, who know where I invest the money. Look, my strength is criminal justice. I deal with drug dealers and killers and those people know how to hide money. And Charles Taylor is no different from a killer because of what he did. So yeah, he knows how to embezzle money. That's why in this country, you understand, the RICO Act, that knows how to go after drug dealers. The RICO Act is one statute that never goes away because they know how to indict you. I don't care how many years pass. That's 1. 2. But let's forget about all of that. Mr. Allen sits over there with a straight face. There was a Virginia company, okay, that ran the registry that flew Liberia flag on a Charles, well, before Charles flew Liberia flag, the registry was responsible to run Liberia flag with different companies. So they had 1,500 vessels that flew Liberia flag. And this company did that job for 50 years. When Mr. Charles Taylor became president, what did he do? Mr. Ali have an idea what Taylor did to those people? He fired them. You understand what I'm saying? Because once the money hit Liberia, the company have no right to money.
Thank you, Herbert.
You understand? Taylor fired them. All right, and the money was embezzled. The directors are there.
Thank you, Herbert. Thank you so much. Okay, we have a 612 number. The last 4 digits of your number is 3309. Tell us your name, please.
Good evening, Ashford. This is Prince Williams, and I'm calling from Tennessee, the volunteer state.
Go ahead with the question, please.
I just want to ask Mr. Allen once, and I'll see what I have to say. Mr. Allen, have you been to Danani, the bullet town in the Ivory Coast?
Yeah.
Have you stayed in a hotel that when you enter Danani, it's called La Gare de Mar? It's on the left-hand side when you enter Danani. At the parking station, there's a hotel. It's one of the best hotels in Danani. Okay. The reason I'm asking because I heard you sit on here and you talk about building industry, and you even talking down condescendingly on the people in the diaspora, how they don't want to come and build industry in Liberia. But I can recall as a witness to some of the things in the crimes, which are in my opinion, the economic crimes that are commissioned and carried out by you, particularly, and your partners, Kuku Dennis, when you people were illegally taking the logs from Liberia via Danani and selling it illegally. And now you sit here because of our culture of impunity. You're talking down on hardworking people in the diaspora, who some of them led that country of no fault of their own, but because of the same criminality of you and Charles Taylor and other Ellen Johnson who wanted to come and take over the country because Drew was there. Now you sit here and talk down on folks like us. How we lazy, we don't want to come by and do nothing in the country.
Thank you, Prince.
Why they do until I left Liberia in the first place in America, and we're in America here and went back to war to Liberia.
Thank you. Okay, we have Mr. Dean Wilson on the line.
Thank you, Ashford. Maybe if I speak slowly, my dear senior brother Alan will speak slowly as well. Chief Allen, how are you?
Good evening.
Chief Allen, would you share the opinion that Liberians, if a president were to go down waterside tomorrow and clean, in good faith, would you agree with the premise that Liberians follow their leaders? Yes or no?
Yes, I agree that Liberians follow their leader.
Okay. The second question, no. Let's keep it short because I have only 2 minutes. Do you believe that if we were to have a good leader like Rawlings or the gentleman from the Mandela or Rwanda, Bengali, if we were to have a good leader in our country, do you believe Liberians will follow that leader?
I agree 100%.
Do you also agree that the leader takes responsibilities for their actions?
Of the functionaries,
for all of the ministers and who have you. If you have your ministers and they're faulted, you would take responsibility, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, my final question to you, since you've agreed and we've agreed so far, you've watched several regimes in Liberia. You've spoken truth to power.
Yeah.
Do you think your country is in a good place right now with the, and I want to back Ms. Brooks because she said that there were people denied licensure and you talk about, I mean, you've spoken truth to power. do you believe this current administration should take responsibility for some of the ills, and the leaders should be speaking and accepting those responsibilities?
Thank you. Thank you, Dane.
I believe that. I believe
Okay,
100%.
thank you, Dane. Hold our thoughts, Cyril Allen. Hold our thoughts, Chief
And,
Allen. We got two more callers, then you can come in. Hold
I
our
believe
thoughts,
that,
Chief
because there are
Allen.
functionaries that are
Chief
appointed
Allen,
in
please hold
government,
on.
and
Please
those
hold on, Chief
functionaries
Allen. Please, Chief Allen. Chief Allen, please hold on.
Yes.
After these two callers, then you can come in. Our 301 number, the last 4 digits, 7624. Please tell us your name.
Sunshine calling from Washington, D.C.
Okay, go ahead.
Everybody else, there's not a WCC because of America. There's superpowers use Charles Taylor. Why you think they have not brought up implement WCC with Ellen Johnson and Prince Johnson? You have to think. The superpowers use our people. Prince Johnson killed the who did he call? Tango. So and they will never ever bring WCC against Prince Johnson. The white people are to blame. We live here. They stabilize Africa. And you see your life here? You think these white crackers got time for us? The only interest they have in Liberia is becoming a narco state with China and Russia. They don't give a damn about us.
Thank you,
Nothing.
Man. Thank you, man.
I will tell you.
Thank you.
We own our own.
Thank you, man.
We own our own. That's all I have to say.
Thank you so much. We have Elvis on the line. Please ask your question, Elvis.
Hello. Yes. Thank you. No, I think it's me. It's not you one day. But is it me, Mr. Garley?
Yeah, go ahead. Ask your question, bro.
Thank you, and hello to the panelists and hello to Chief Allen. Chief Allen, I just want to say I think you will agree with me that it's not a government responsibility to build factories. But secondly, my main question to you is, on the matter of the economy, who do you think is the best candidate? I know you're president, we are supportive, but who do you think is the best candidate to fix the economy? Somebody like Joe Boyka, who is broke in his personal life, or somebody like President We Are Cummings, who will be the best? Thank you for taking my call.
Thank you. The last caller is the 515 number. The last 4 digits of
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead. Ask your question, please.
Hello, Mr. Allen. This is D.C. Wilson from Des Moines, Iowa. Mr. Allen, I have a question for you. Yeah, I think you don't think that you contributed to the removal of Taylor from power because one, you were you on record, you insulted publicly a certain U.S. ambassador to Liberia, Bismarck Merrick. Now you cannot leave Liberia to go anywhere. They will arrest you. Do you regret for insulting a certain U.S. ambassador? Thank you.
Yes. Okay. Are you ready? Okay. Let's deal with
ASHFORD.
Yeah, we're ready for you, sir. You can now go ahead and answer the questions. Go ahead.
Okay, the maritime issue someone raised with the Liberian flag of convenience that was done by the Bureau of Maritime Affairs. He said that they sacked the maritime people who have been there. Yes, I'm supportive of sacking a group of people who come and exploit our country and take millions of dollars away and do not contribute to the national economy of our country and make themselves, like the lady just said, and make themselves rich and make their area wealthy at the expense of the Liberian people, flying the Liberian flag of convenience of over 1,000 ships and paying peanuts to the Liberian government. Somebody had to come in and restructure that and make a change. That's one. Someone talked about me talking down on the people at the diaspora. I'm sorry, I will never talk down on people in the diaspora. I'm not calling anyone lazy. I have six kids that graduated from Ivy League schools in the United States. I cannot talk down on anyone who's making a living in the United States to keep their family and sustain themselves and get a profession. I did not talk down. I said that Liberia should take the initiative
of bringing industries that are mothballing in warehouses in the United States and to form a joint venture between and among themselves and bring these industries home to be able to create jobs and improve the skill of Liberians. And I mean that. I'm not saying it to downgrade or denigrate anyone. I say to you, the Nigerians are doing it, the Ghanaians are doing it. They're buying all those old factories in the United States and taking them to Ghana. I was in Accra the other day and visited one or two of these industries. And Nigeria, I'm there regularly. Someone say I cannot travel. I go to Nigeria, I go to Kigali, I go to Ethiopia, I go to places that I have something to do. I have nothing to do in the United States. What I'm coming there for? But I will deal with that issue down the line as we go along. Someone talk about leadership. Yes, the country becomes dynamic when the leader is dynamic, and people have a tendency to follow the leader, even dress like them. You can see that with Tubman time and Torba time, and even how the ladies dress during the Salif era. And yeah, people follow the leader. Yes, a leader that concentrates on the welfare and the well-being of the people and discipline their functionaries. Nigerians at the ministerial level will also discipline their functionaries, and people in the private sector will be inclined to discipline them and keep them online. So leadership is important, and the quality of leadership is also important besides the leader themselves. Yes, someone talk about the blame, whether we take blame. Yes, I've told you over and over that our generation could go down in history as the most destructive generation of all times. Because it was when our generation, when we left colleges in the mid-70s, came about with the revolution, the Moja, the movement for justice in Africa, the revolution, the revolutionary vanguard of African liberation, and came up with all these socialist slogans. At the time, there was the East and the West, and caused that led the country to where we are today. So yes, we take a considerable amount of the blame because we were the leaders of the revolution. We were with leadership from college, from university, and all that. So for those who don't want to take the blame, they are welcome to do that. Some of them are exonerating themselves, but if we did not come back with a revolutionary zeal and enthusiasm, maybe Liberia would have been better going peacefully. So yeah, we take some blame. Someone asked who is the best economist. I don't know. I don't know what to say with this, but it's very clear. You know that Alexander Cummings is someone who has worked in the international sector and has some sort of discipline. But this is conventional bureaucracy. It's different from governance and governing. You have to look at that too. Government has to do with the will of the people and the desire of the people and creating atmosphere for betterment of the citizens. So in economic terms, I don't know how to describe that, but I think the economy could be best under someone like Cummings if you have the right people to work with. Any leader who could come in and select the right economists and the right technicians in various agencies and ministries and dynamic leaders in agriculture and the health and all that, will have a better leadership in the country. There's no question about that. Liberians will follow their leader. Someone said that correctly. And we have to talk about Bismarck Merrick and the American ambassador. I could go on and on to give the reason. What do you mean an ambassador? An ambassador has its limitations. When an ambassador comes into a country and begin to overlap their function and get into the traditional societies and begin to bribe the traditional leaders and everything, it is incumbent upon me as the party leader to refer them to our platform. Our platform said that we support the traditional leadership of the country, and that's why we got the votes. So it was incumbent upon me to come and defend the party platform by telling the traditional leaders that we did not send the American ambassador to try and convince them to do anything to change their tradition. But that was some misinformation, and I don't regret any moment of that. And even ambassadors that overstep their function anywhere in any country, they are reprimanded. In Nigeria, Ghana, Ivory Coast, you go there, and no ambassador. I mean, Liberia, go take advantage of Liberia. That's what the woman was saying. Any ambassador can come in Liberia and try to directly the government, tell us what to do, and try to score our leaders and all that, and denigrate them. That should not be allowed. That's not their function. People have to understand international diplomacy and know the limitation of ambassadors. So whether you're an American ambassador or anything you call them, it doesn't matter. We have to learn that. We went to school, the same school these people went to. They're not more educated than us. They're not more exposed than us. You cannot come and dictate to us and try to undermine our government and expect us to be quiet. I'm sorry about that. I mean, I have to tell you the truth. And the lady talked about something interesting, which I know about.
the Arab Spring and the destabilization of Africa and the nullification of any leader in Africa that seemed to be a leader of the masses and get mass support. They don't want that. They want to divide the country to be able to rule them. They want to divide the country to be able to bring the multinational corporation to exploit our natural resources and build factories and rubber processing in Upland, Ohio, and create 70-something thousand jobs for their citizens. While our citizens remain here as rubber tappers. They never built a high school in Firestone for 80 years. They were doing the Taylor administration that they put the first secondary school in Firestone. All they wanted for the rubber tappers to be rubber tappers, their children to be rubber tappers. That's why they stopped in 9th grade with the educational system. We gotta look at some of these things and talk about it honestly as Liberians and start bickering about who's superior and who's not superior. The interest of Liberia is paramount, and Liberians who take that tendency and posture will do very well for our country. I'm not going to subordinate myself to somebody because you call him an ambassador from the United States, so I'm supposed to capitulate. I'm sorry about that. I mean, no one. I have no dream about going to America. I have 6 children that are American citizens, born in America and went to school in America to Ivy League schools. I don't hate America, but I mean, I'm certain that no one should overstep their boundary. There's an independent country here. There's nothing interference with the internal affairs of nations. That's the UN Charter resolution. You cannot have ambassadors just come here and say what they want to say.
Thank you, Chief. Chief Allen.
We have to stand up for that. I don't hate them, but we have to be realistic. For those of you who are not realistic and objective, I'm sorry.
Chief Allen.
Yes, they did talk about Charles Taylor being sponsored by the Americans. They brought Taylor to bring war. They supported Prince Johnson. They've been supporting all the people in our country with all the war thing they brought here. We met it here, and there was no way for us to fight it. You have to understand that. They are the one who planned all this.
Chief Allen,
going on all over the world.
Chief Allen,
the Arab countries.
Chief Allen, just before you go, somebody asked several questions which you agreed to that he was right, and then he asked you about the current situation in the country. I believe what Dan was in, and then another person, Prince, talked about the illegal logging and sealed of logs during the service there in rural Liberia on Charles Taylor. Can you please comment on those before?
Yes. Okay, let me comment on that too. I don't know if anyone would say that I was involved in timber export. That person is a liar because I was never involved in that. I was always involved in hydrocarbon. But notwithstanding, you had 12 timber companies operating under license, under the MPRAG government. It may have not been the government of Monrovia, but it was the government of the day with majority of the Liberians in Greater Liberia. And the United Nations and everybody recognized 2 different governments in Liberia at the time. These logging companies were operating under the MPRAG, the National Patriotic Reconstruction Assembly government, that had a legislature. There was a full-scale government negotiating with the IGNU government in Monrovia for the stability and peace in Liberia. So they had the right. Firestone was operating under the same license of the MPRAG. Liberia Agricultural Company, these are American multinationals. They were paying taxes to the government. The logging companies were paying taxes, and they were shipping the logs to La Côte d'Ivoire. It was easier for them to go to the port of Abidjan from Nimba County than to go all the way on the bad road to the port of Buchanan, and they could not come to Monrovia because IGNU was there. You have to understand what was happening. There was no illegal shipping of logs. Was it illegal shipping of iron ore with 34,000 metric tons of iron ore being shipped by the MPRAG government? Someone is joking here. You have to understand what's going on the ground. All these hypotheticals and misinformation that you're putting forward is unexpected. I expect you to be more informed. There was no illegal shipment of logs. Each of those logging companies were duly registered, and each cubic meter of log that was taken from Liberia was paid for through the city bank in La Côte d'Ivoire in MPRAG government account to sustain and upkeep the government. There's no way that you say that was illegal. Or maybe you were not legal because you were IGNU government, but IGNU government were doing illegal maritime collection of $40-something million every month from the same company that you say Taylor sacked. They were paying taxes to IGNU government, sustaining them. So what will you say about that? I don't want to start pointing fingers.
Okay,
because I can tell you,
Mr. Allen,
you don't know it.
Mr. Allen, we have
Yes.
exhausted our time, but just before we leave, as the lead host of the program, what is your take on the operation and management of the road funds? Number one. Number two, how does Charles Taylor feel about Liberia today? Those are the last two questions, and then you can give us your closing statement.
Well, Taylor feels that Liberia should be peaceful and that people should work in unison, because what divided the country was the same type of resentment and disunity among the country that led to civil commotion and war. So he's hoping that Liberia would remain peaceful, and he's hoping too that there be non-interference, because that is where the confusion comes. Well, a group of people, a handful of people are paid or influenced by Western powers to come and destabilize the country, and then when the war comes, they begin to bring aid and what they call supplies and whatnot to treat the people that are being destroyed by war. So we will have to stop it at the beginning of it and not encourage it. Your next question was what about
the road funds? Yeah.
About what?
The road funds.
Yeah, the road fund, very interesting, very important. Very important. The road fund is being backed up by the international community, and the government has to make its contribution to the road fund to be able to meet up with the contract. The road contracts are awarded, and then the Ministry of Public Works and the road fund will supervise that and grant certificates to those contractors who have completed 40%, 50%, depending on the terms of the contract. And the road fund should be respected, like I said earlier. We had a very good manager of the road fund, Boniface Tati. I think he was doing very well there. He was even able to get financial opportunities for the road fund, pending the arrival of the funds from the international partners and the government. That was a very good initiative, and that's why we talk about innovation and personnel, in particular job functions. Unfortunately, his term has expired, and I don't know whether they're considering renewing it, but I would hope that that is done, because he played a major role along with the Public Works Ministry, the Finance Ministry, and the road, in getting the road fund working. Yes, my opinion about the road fund is it should be secret, it should be protected and provided for regularly, so that the contractors can complete the awarded contract. A lot of contracts are awarded to complete most of the roads, but the funding have been a bottleneck, and sometimes the contractors have to stop working because there are no funds coming in, because maybe the government is not matching the funds with the international community, or the domestic account where the funds are being deposited have been depleted for payment of contractors for contracts, and the funds are coming in slowly. I think the road fund, since the priority of this government is road, the road fund should be given priority, and funds are coming from the sale of petroleum. There's a certain percentage that should go straight into the road fund and be used for the development and the maintenance of roads. I think that should be a very strict measure put into place, so that since development, development begins with the development of roads, you have to open up the country to be able to get a maximum benefit from the infrastructure and the natural resources of the country. So the road fund, to answer your question directly, should be managed properly, controlled properly, and should be the attention of any government that comes in.
Okay, Chief, as you give us your closing statement, in your mind, sir, what is wrong with governance and politics in Liberia that needs fixing to the best of your assertion or assessment, sir?
What needs fixing?
Yeah.
We can fix the country by getting the quality of legislators that will come in, duly elected legislators that are nationalistic in their agenda. If you elect people who are conscientious about the country and its development agenda, and they'll be able to even control the executive branch of government and direct it. When you have people who are sycophants and opportunists, I'm not saying everybody, majority of that quality who will lean to the administration and be a rubber stamp legislator, then you have problems in the country. That's why there are three independent and distinct branches of government that have due functions according to law and statute. But they're not performing their duties. I mean, you cannot just be there as a rubber stamp. You must be able to perform your duties diligently. and be concerned about the citizens that elected you. To take your salaries up. You have 103 people making almost 10-15% of the national budget. You increase your salaries, you increase your benefits, you get new vehicles every year. I mean, but what is the joke? What is that kind of thing that, you know? You have duty-free also. And some of them are in the habit of selling the duty-free to international traders and suppliers and taking government revenue because of duty-free. People bring containers and they put in legislators' names and they don't pay duty. And these are some of the things I mean, that's what I think need to be fixed. The first thing is to identify the quality of human resources, forget about tribal things, forget about sentiment, and put people in that are nationalistic. And they will be able to control things, people who are independent in their approach to governance. And that is what I think.
Thank you. Thank you. You can give us your closing statement now in 1 minute, sir.
Well, my closing statement is that diligence and dedication will get us anywhere once the desire is there. Most of the problem of Liberians happen to be Liberians wherever they are. I don't people may feel bad about it, but it is true. Liberians are not diligent in what they do. Liberians are not nationalistic. We're not interested in the well-being of our country. We denigrate our leaders, we criticize our system, we downgrade our country. A Nigerian friend of mine said to me in Lagos about 2 weeks ago, he said, man, if you Liberians would use the internet as you use it to support your country, you will be better for you. Most of the posts that we read are denigrating your country and calling your country all sorts of names. And for Liberians, you're not strangers are doing that. Go to ministries, I keep telling you, go to agencies of government. See how the people respond to their duties. Someone said it's good for the leader to start firing these people and suspending them, and they themselves in turn will suspend those other people who are not performing their duties. People don't want to work. They want a government job. They want a title. They want a government vehicle and government gas and government, what it is, scratch card, but they don't want to perform their duties. And it's not government, it's Liberians. That's my party statement. Liberians must be more conscientious about nation building and be more concerned about our country. And those who are outside of the country should be more interested in doing things for the country and in the country. I mean, somebody's angry because I'm talking down. I'm not talking down. I'm just encouraging Liberians to do things. Everybody say, I want to go home. I want to come home. Create the environment where you can come in, bring an industry, and you can support your children over there. You can support your family. You can pay your mortgage from your factory in Liberia. I mean, that's the making black alone. That was saying from the beach. I mean, you know, if you're making matches stick, just by bringing a matches factory in the country and use the wood and the gunpowder to make matches and supply. Liberia put more than 15 containers of matches every year. Look at the Ministry of Commerce IPD, the issue. Matches, something simple as matches. You know, so I'm just saying that we should be more concerned about our country and have to build our country. Let's start letting government do this and government do that. Leave government business. Let Liberians, independent Nigerians build the road to their villages from their business. They don't wait for government to come build their road. You know?
Thank you, sir.
So that's what I'm saying.
Thank you so much. And it was a pleasure having you on tonight. We'll be looking forward to seeing you some other time. And thank you so much, sir.
Thank you very much. It's nice that I came on and could talk about some of these things so that people can see a different view. They may not agree with me, but it's a different view to things, you know. And that gets rid of some of the misconceptions because you hear the kind of story that I'm hearing on the call. That somebody was selling love in Ghana illegally. I mean, they were legally registered companies exporting their love to La Cote d'Ivoire. I'm sorry to, you know, but anyway.
Thank you for staying up late to talk to us.
My man, you got energy for a 71-year-old Papeo.
Oh yes, I mean we have the energy. Knowledge is power. Energy, knowledge is power.
I know you're right.
And I can recite these things. I don't have to look on any paper because I'm speaking the truth. If I say it tomorrow, it'll be the same thing. When you tell lies, you have to patch them up next time and correct them. No.
Thank you.
I don't drink alcohol. I'm always sober.
Thank you.
So I don't make mistakes and I don't apologize for things that I do because I think them out before I do them.
And you say you're too old to
never really apologize.
And you say
to government.
And you say
the government offended and I say apologize. I'm not gonna apologize.
And you say you're too old to tell a lie, right? You say you're too old to lie, right?
I'm too old to tell a lie. Why am I lying for the who? How many more years?
But
literally live for them.
but most of the
And I'm not afraid to die.
Yeah.
I was in the war for almost 12 years in the bush with Taylor. If I'm afraid to die, I won't be there.
Thank you.
So,
Thank you.
That's what people got to understand. Some people stand for certain things.
Thank you, Chief. Well, this is why Dadu's brought us tonight, and we're gonna do a low post production. What you guys made of the Chief tonight, man? Let us begin with Dadu's at it. Please unmute your device. Idatus? Idatu Tayo. You sleeping? Can you hear me, Idatus? Okay, let us go to Coach Q.
You really sleeping?
Yeah, so let me come in. I think Datu's trying to hide his face for this guest.
But see, isn't that?
I think I'm having some technical problem.
Okay, I thought you that way embarrassed for you.
Can you hear me now?
Go ahead.
Okay.
Okay, yeah, you got to come in. What do you make of the Chiefs, man? Go ahead, Datus.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you, Pastor.
Can they hear me?
Yes, sir. We can hear you. Go ahead.
Yeah, for some reason my so as I listened to him in terms of some clarifications he made, right. As I listened to him, I was very much interested in debunking the myth concerning Joseph Boyka, in which he ran an effective operation at the LPMC and agriculture. That was highly impressive, and debunking the lie that he was responsible for financial misappropriation, when the reports that ANC people are running with are a complete lie. I shared the document with you, Ashford, the auditor, Mr. John P. Comtello, and what he stated concerning that audit. He said there were $14.6 million that I sold in rice as credit, $7.4 million uncollected, and therefore the management of that program was much better before 1982. So Joseph Boyka became the LPMC managing director from 1973 to 1982. So until the military junta in 1980 that took over that position, which Mr. Boyka was relieved of, to later become active in 1983 and 85. The records are there in the summary report, which I shared with you, and I can share with the mission for everybody to see clear concerning the sanctity of the program, Ambassador Joseph Boyka. My eyes are not so good. I wouldn't know if Dr. Fisk can see it better to see the report of the he basically told the U.S. government that this program ran better. So here is the report. This report discussed results of our audit of the PL40 title program to Liberia from 1980 to 1984. The objective were to determine government of Liberia compliance with the PL40 agreement, including the use of sales proceeds to support development projects and self-help measures to improve the lives of the rural poor. The government of Liberia substantially complied with the agreement in the early program years. Since 1982, however, serious liquidity economic problems caused the shortfalls of the PLO account amounting to about $16.5 million in March 1985. The lack of funds has caused problems in the development projects which were dependent on PL40 proceeds. We found the government of Liberia, agent responsible for PL40 Title I sales, one, transfer about 1.1 million of rice to government organizations without acquiring payment. And number two, the accounts receivable of 14.4 million due from credit sales, of which about $7.4 million was uncollected or was uncollectible. The government of Liberia also failed to submit reports on self-help measures taken pursuant to the PL40 Title I agreement. We're recommending that USAID Liberia not award additional PL 41 assistance until the government of Liberia, number one, reestablishes the special account, and two, deposit outstanding sales proceeds. Also, USAID should exercise greater control over future PL 40 programs. Therefore, the government credit and sales policies and inventory control procedures, we noted that the mission is taking the appropriate action to implement the recommendation. Please advise us within 30 days of the action taken or plan to close this recommendation. Thank you for your assistance provided to my staff during the audit. Signed, John P. Compitello, Regional Inspector General Audit, General/Audit West Africa. Let me stop sharing. So the reason why can you all see me now? I stopped sharing.
Yeah, we can see you.
Okay, good. So the reason this report, because my friend and brother, Coach, misinformed the Liberian people. And yesterday, Joseph Boyka embezzled money. When he was managing the PO 40, but when you look at the timeline at which he worked at the Liberian Produce Marketing Corporation, the audit report stated that this program ran effectively thanks to Chief Cyril Allen, who stated that when Joseph Boyka was in the ministry, it was a well-run, effective program that led to the production of the Lofra production agriculture project, Bong County. As I read the entire report, I saw all of the different evolution of projects in different counties. In fact, Lofa was the bread basket producing country rice, pepper, cucumber, argo oil, palm oil, cocoa, coffee, among several other things, under the management of Mr. Boyka. So this misinformation, misappropriation,
I will hold you right there,
point is a reflection of defeatism.
Reverend Addy, I will hold you right there. Well, Coach Q, you came out yesterday firing, and you said you were going to share this report all over on every platform that you can lay your hands on. Is Idaju's now giving you the full audit report, stating that from the onset of the operations, right, from 1980 to 82, while Joseph Boyka was there, things appeared to go smooth. They were up to the task, but it was when he left in 82 that's when things decided to go the other way around.
First of all, so first of all, that's not what that even the letter he just read said. It said it did not exonerate Joseph Boyka of anything. Number one. Number two, the report is there. I sent you the report. Mr. Allen saying Joseph Boyka ran a good operation when he was there. Is that what sufficed as evidence? Is that what you're saying? Because there's nothing in that report that you just read or that letter that you just read that exonerates Joseph Boyka of embezzling the money, the $16.5 million. Nothing at all. If it is true, highlight just that part that exonerates him. That's not true. So when you were reading the letter, I found it comical that you were doing that when it doesn't say anything about and the person you brought on tonight did not exonerate him. He said he doesn't even know about the audit report.
And to your credit, he said that. He said he wouldn't speak to something that he doesn't know about.
Yeah, he has no idea. So I don't know why you're reading these letters or calling these people as witnesses when they have nothing to add to what we're saying. But anyway, the report is there. We are going to continue to share it, not just me, all Liberians who cares about our country and making sure a person does not take advantage of them. We are going to continue to give the information to Liberian people and let them make their own judgment after the read.
So where in that report is Joseph Boyka mentioned to be in ASHFORD? You asking?
Well, Joseph Boyka, I can tell you easily. You just look at the time in office. First, he was general manager of the LPMC. That was from 80 to 82. The report covers that period, and then he was the agriculture minister. It covered that time period from 1983 to 85. All those time periods are covered in the report, and it said the agents of Liberia, which Joseph Boyka was covering all those time periods from 73, to be honest, and that's when the investment took place. Again, I'm going to share the report with the Liberian people, have them read it, and then they're going to look at the timeline when Joseph Boyka served, and they will make their own judgment. I think is very, very disingenuous when you guys are out here trying to pass this old man as being corruption free when what he did led to one of the worst time period in Liberia history. Because of what Joseph Boyka did, we went to a civil war. This is why Doe had to be desperate for money. He pressed the Liberian people to pay back that money. This is why Joseph Boyka was fired in 1985, although he was outside the country. Okay, this general audit report is what led to the.
Coach Q, let me hold you there, Coach Q. Let me hold you.
Let me land on this. It was what catapulted Doe into everything he went through. But go ahead.
Okay, Dr. Fisk, with Reverend Addy coming with just excerpt of a report that has 40 pages, would that suffice?
Well, the thing is, what was the initial question? You wanted us to give a synopsis of our impression of Mr. Allen. That was it. Okay. We can continue because this Joseph Boyka discussion has been a running discussion between the Reverend and the coach. Okay. So the public needs time. You can post the information on the website so the public has time to digest it. Okay. But in the interim, I would just try to limit myself to what I heard. And the only thing I can say about the appearance of Mr. Cyril Allen tonight is that when Liberians are not in power, they know exactly what needs to be done.
Yes.
And that's a shame. And to sit with a straight face and try to window dress the Taylor regime with the demon forces. And when I talked about Charles Taylor currently being in jail because of atrocities in Liberia, the international community is not fooled to think that fooled and was not a witness to what happened in Liberia. Just like Liberians, when they got into the street and talk about you killed my mind, killed my power, I'll vote for you. Basically, they were telling the international community that don't intrude. Okay. So to some extent, they tied the international community hands. So that's why they decided to go after Charles Taylor because of Sierra Leone. But if you watch the entire trial, there were many times there were references made to Liberia. So you can say exclusively the only reason why Charles Taylor sits in jail is because of Sierra Leone. No, it's because of the atrocities that he committed against the people of Liberia. He killed a lot of people, and for anyone to come and sit here and try to pin that thing, talk about gold when people were mining diamonds, where did the whole black diamond and all of this whole diamond stuff, because of this whole Charles Taylor regime, and then he exported that stuff into Sierra Leone. So, I mean, that's my take on Cyril Allen. The Boyka discussion we can table for another day because it's not going to end tonight. That I can show you.
Why it is true that it is not going to end tonight. Before we go to Letty Bruce Roberts, Emery wanted to inject a little bit. Emery?
Yeah, Ashford, thanks for having me. The Reverend, I don't know, he's reading the excerpt of the report. And I think we have to be honest with our people. This is the reason why Liberia is going nowhere. We tend to politicize everything. This is not politics. If you look at the time frame of the report, it's more than 40 pages. All right, it's detailed. It has all of the ingredients in it to indict Ambassador Boyka. Okay, if you look at the time frame, he was the head for LPMC when they audited. They talk about misappropriation. They talk about expenditures that did not carry receipt. They talk about those things. So let us not play politics. We're going to find another time to discuss this. I respect the panelists over there. I don't want to take up your time.
Thank you.
But we want to sit on the panel to discuss this.
Thank you. Okay, Mr. Letty Bruce Roberts.
Ashford, I didn't quite talk about Mr. Allen.
Hold on, folks.
You asked me a direct question about.
He asked me directly.
Hold on, folks.
Okay.
All right.
Let him go ahead. Let him go ahead.
No, I'm sorry, Miss Brooks.
Then if they can go, then I'll have to go to Rennie. Then we can circle back to you, Coach, please. Rennie Dapple.
No, I mean, I thought he had a chain of thought. He wanted to say something.
Okay, go ahead, Mrs. Roberts.
Yeah, we just want to say thank you to Mr. Allen for availing himself this late in Liberia. But as many of the callers said, and some of us as well, yeah, it's interesting how he knows all of the things that need to be done, and he sits right there with the government, like I stated to him earlier, and we're not anywhere better. You know, as a statesman, I would call him a statesman because he's been around, and he's not, giving us the truth of the country and its current state. You know, all of the things that he has narrated need to be done, and he is part of the current administration, and that should be done. Knowing where he comes from, the state that he lived during the time where the country was in a great state, and he knows what needs to be improved on. But doing these little wired fees and people coming to say thank you, and he's one of the people part of that when he talked about teachers coming right out of school and don't even know how to teach someone, but you're doing wired fees. Please, thank you.
Thank you, Dapple.
Yeah, Ashford, and thanks to everyone. I must say I am very pleased with Dr. Cyril Allen tonight, because what Dr. Cyril Allen established here tonight is political interest versus being Liberia-centric. The centricity of being a Liberian is to say the truth. You know, there is no rule of law where there's no rule of law, there's no democracy. And that's why he tried to establish it tonight. Folks have come out and tried to accuse him of things that he lived through and understood. When someone come here and say because one person went to Liberia, they were denied of not getting a license to operate, it makes no sense to me in that there are things that we go through in life that we get denied of. But I think the reason we should be asking ourselves why did we get denied is to understand the nature and the behavior that we put towards those things. I would like to see the number of Liberians and also our partners, because I'm data-driven, actually, that show that people went to Liberia and they were denied. But one person going to Liberia and being denied, if that is a reason to repurpose a change in Liberia, that is very, very sad. And I also would like to thank Cyril Allen in answering the question about following the leaders. We see leaders today who are head of political party. They are setting bad example that their followers are going through. We have folks who came here and said, we can't keep doing the same thing over and over and expect different results. Mike Pence, Nikki Haley, Craig Christie, these guys participated in the Republican primaries with Donald Trump, and Donald Trump is going to reprocess the whole thing again. But you have politicians in our country that are advocating for change, and they are leaders in their own right because they have their political parties, and they are doing absolutely nothing.
Please wrap up.
And I want to say, actually, I think you got to give me some chance because your body there, they were talking too much, we're not talking.
Man, all of you talk the same.
You see, one thing you have to be.
Just go ahead and talk, my brother. Just go ahead and talk.
I will now that you give me the time, I will finish up quick. All right. So we have leaders in our country who profess to be people that want change, but their behavior are not really representing what they are talking about. Now, when you look at what Mr. Cyril Allen said, because I asked him a very important question. What are you proud of, and what do you see as challenges? And he clearly laid out that question from me, actually, it was not about CDC, it was not about praising Georgia. And he clearly stated what he was proud of, because these are things that were never in existence in the past, and he managed to do that. So I would like to just say a big thank you to Cyril Allen. But let me end with this. You see, the PL 480 project, it came on the backs of the limited resources in terms of food that we were limited to producing. They had the swan rice, they had the game rice, the country rice. So the US decided to complement that other aspect of the food. And speaking about that, I just posted the audit, but here is the detail here. I don't want to share the document because it's very sensitive.
Thank you.
I share my platform. It's clearly said that the reason the PL 480 came is because they wanted to complement the other remaining aspect of the food. And Joseph Borka was given an opportunity to run that program. But in the process, he defaulted on that and became a problem. It became a problem for President Odo, and he let go. And Joseph Borka know within himself, you got to explain this thing. So I would like to say,
we'll leave it at that. And thank you so much, Randy.
and
Thank you to all of you. Either we came for 1.5 hours. We done here for 2.5 hours. And folks, I'm afraid we don't have the luxury of time. I know we all want to speak on the trendy issue, and of course the very sensitive issue about Boycott's involvement into the alleged corruption in the 80s. So God willing, we'll be back Friday, and we can subsequently land on that.
And I hope that the comments people got their message.
My brother, I Becky now. I talking now. We're feeling with other things. I Becky.
All right, I'll let forget that.
Okay, that's all the time we have to be with you. God will be on Friday. Until then, ASHFORD GARLEY. Have a great night.